Hey, public speakers, that is anyone out there who has to communicate for their work. I'm voice coach Jessica Neighbor, and I want to take on a pretty deep topic today. Do you hate your voice? I want to break down what it is about your voice you hate or you think you hate, because we need to reframe this in order to really become a more successful communicator in whatever it is we're doing in our lives. So that is the topic of the day. It's kind of heavy, but we're gonna have some fun unpacking it together. Just a little bit about me if you don't already know. I'm a voice coach. I work with vocalists and public speakers. For the past 20 years, I've coached people all over the world. I love doing this. So this actually came about, well, I've heard this many times throughout my years of coaching, but it came about just this last weekend when I was with a cousin of mine who took my recent public speaking course because he works online all the time with clients. And he took my course. He said it really helped him, but he said, Jess, he calls me Jess. He said, I have to confess to you, I hate my voice. And it made me sad because there's so many things in there that could be going on. And I can relate. I am like a recovered voice hater myself. I have learned how to embrace and love my voice. And if we hate our voice, it's going to prevent us from doing the good work that we want to do, right? Because what is it we're trying to do at the end of the day as communicators? We are trying to communicate good things. But if the vehicle, the instrument that we're trying to communicate good things through isn't working for us, we're just going to be fighting against ourselves. So how do we learn to accept, even enhance what it is we're working with? Okay, so I've got 5 things for you. 5 things today. I'm tongue-tied here. The voice coach who's tongue-tied. That's funny. So 5 things that are going to help you. So let's dive in. Number 1. When I hear this with my private clients, I always say, can you be specific about what it is you dislike about your voice? So say you recorded something and you're watching it back or hearing it back and you go, that's what I sound like. I want you to take a moment and think in your mind, what is it? What is like the first snap judgment that you make about your voice when you hear it? All right. So think about that, because I want you to get descriptive. If you just say, I hate everything about my voice, that's too general. We can't do anything with that. So get specific. What is it? What are you getting at there? All right. And the second point is related to the first, which is what has influenced your voice? So the number one thing that's influenced your voice is your family, your core family, the family you grew up with. So you're going to find very often that there's similar voices, similar voice patterns, timbre, cadence, all of it from the family you grew up with, right? That's how we learn accents. That's how we have our certain vocal styles. That's all of it. If you dislike your voice, there's probably something in there about your family and your relationships and how it's all related. We're not going to get into a whole therapy session here, but I remember when I started doing voice studies, my voice coach said, you probably sound like certain people in your family. And she encouraged me, and I'm going to do the same thing for you. She said, go study your family. What do they sound like? Sometimes it's hard for us to analyze ourselves. What do they sound like? And I bet you that there's a similarity. So true fact, in my family, the women sound very similar. We have been told that we have loud voices. I like to think of that as a compliment. I can project. We have sing-song voices. And if you put my mom, my aunt, and myself in the same room together, you may not be able to tell us apart. We have such similar voices. So there is a very, very strong family connection in how I talk and how I communicate. What I realized when there were certain things about my voice that I wanted to change was I wanted to keep the good stuff and I wanted to change other things. So we want to get specific. So going back to the point number 1, what is it that you dislike about your voice? I want you to get descriptive, because then that way you can actually start to fix some of those things if they actually need fixing. Meaning maybe you talk really fast because likely you come from a family of fast talkers and it's fast talkers and everything's real fast. And maybe you want to learn how to slow down, right? We're influenced by our environment. So by identifying that speech skill that you want to shift, then you're going to have so much more awareness how to go about doing that. But like my cousin was saying, I hate my voice. If we're just stuck there, we're never going to make improvement about it. Another thing you can do is work with a voice coach and get some specific feedback, or like my online course, for instance, I give you personal vocal feedback in it. So if you're wanting more specific feedback, and you can even say, this is what I don't like, these are the two things, I can give you some ideas for how you can shift your voice. Things like being nasal, or having a whispery voice, or talking very loud, or having a monotone voice. All of those qualities are absolutely fixable, and you can enhance the other parts of your voice that you do like. So here's another question for you, my friends. I always ask this one to my clients. What do you like about your voice? Because I find this one is a lot harder for people. So for instance, my cousin, my husband's cousin, I just call him my cousin, he has a smooth voice. I love his voice. I love that quality about his voice. It's smooth. I feel like he could talk to you like he's a late night DJ on the radio. It's great. There's something so wonderful about that. So we would enhance those qualities that are really becoming, and perhaps tone down the other qualities that we're not as wild about. Two more goodies for you. Number 4, acceptance. Work with what you got. So when I work with singers, this is really useful. It works with public speakers just the same. Very often singers wish they had a different kind of vocal range from what they have. So maybe they're a high soprano and they wish they were a bass. Or maybe they're an alto belter and they wish they were a high soprano. And I always I learned this actually from another voice coach when I worked at a music school with her. She said, sometimes I find like my singing students, they're a tuba, but they wish they were a flute, right? Or they're a flute and they wish they were a saxophone. So we can shift our voice, we can make it a little different, but we also have a unique sounding voice. There's only one voice in the world, just like ours, like a snowflake. So work with what you've got. Accept it, work with what you've got, and enhance it. Because if you're always wishing you were something entirely different, then you're gonna get really stuck. You wish you could sound like, James Earl Jones or Barry White, and you sound like Dolly Parton, we're gonna have some problems. But if you sound like Dolly Parton, but maybe you wanna just open up your lows a little bit more and release your jaw a little bit more, well, you can be a Dolly that's fantastic. But we don't want to fight against our natural instrument, and instead accept the limitations of that instrument and then work with what we got. All right, y'all, last one. Woo! This is a lot of good stuff today. These are like my 20 years of coaching all balled up in one. So stay with me for this final one because I really, really love this. This gets to a very deep core thing. Also, if you are watching this in my newsletter, you can also watch this on the Instagram or on the Facebook. I am sharing it on all different social media platforms for you. And if you think this is useful for someone else who you know and love and who maybe has told you they hate their voice haters, you can share it with them because I'm all about sharing the good stuff, sharing the good news. My last coaching piece of advice for you all who hate your voice, again, I am a recovered voice hater, is to set it and forget it. So once you've taken on your voice, once you've actually done some vocal coaching and learned your vocal warm-up routine and learned how to support yourself with your breath and all those good things, you have arrived. Now it's time to trust that that great conditioning you've done is going to really work, and you need to stop listening to yourself. You need to get more concerned with your message and what it is you're communicating, and not get hung up on your voice. Because as long as we're listening to ourselves as we're communicating, as long as there is a piece of us that's like, what am I saying? What do I sound like? I sound lame. I'm critiquing. We're all caught up in ourselves. We are not present. We are not communicating. And this is absolutely true for singers and for presenters. It is our job when we are communicating with others, online, in person, in virtual meetings, on a huge TED Talk stage, you name it. I've worked with people in all of these different areas. Our primary job is to set it and forget the technical part and be there, right? And then we know we get to have all the good stuff. We get to tell stories. We get to hopefully give people some sort of transformation, take them from one part that they're stuck and bring them to somewhere else. But we can't do that if we are hung up on what we sound like. So actually hating your voice can be really detrimental to you as a communicator in all aspects of your life, frankly, not just when you're doing your biz stuff. What is it like when you're talking in a group of your friends or you're talking with your intimate partner? Is there a part of you that is at odds with how you sound? Wouldn't it be so much nicer if you could just embrace who you are and your natural tendencies, and then again, set it and then quit it. Right? So I hope these things were useful. If you have any feedback for me, if there was one of these 5 things, I'm going to do a quick rapid wrap up with you here. But if there was anything here that really spoke to you, I'd love to hear about it, because we can really get hung up on this and then it can really get us stuck. Remember, let's do rapid fire review here. Number 1, get specific about what you dislike about your voice. Name it. Number 2, what are the influences on your voice? Likely family. And the second most likely influence is your location, right? Your accent, your dialect, all that good stuff. Number 3, what do you want to change about your voice? Be specific. And second part of that is, what do you like about your voice and what do you want to keep? Framing it in a positive light. 4, accepting the vocal instrument you have. Do you have a sense of if you have a heavier voice or a lighter voice? Working within the reality of what it is your Mother Nature has given you. And finally, set it and forget it. Once you've done the good work, once you've looked at your voice, reviewed it, conditioned it, it is your job to trust that it is going to work for you and really get to the good stuff about why we're here, which is to communicate, inspire, have a conversation, and be real and authentic, right? You hear that keyword all the time. We can't be authentic if we're stuck in our heads or if we're self-conscious. And really, at the end of the day, I think what really translates to other people is when someone is comfortable. They're comfortable in their own skin. They're comfortable with their own voice. They've accepted it. And it's not because they're perfect, is it? It's rarely the perfect people. I'm rarely looking at Miss Universe going, wow, she's really authentic. It's more often someone who I feel like I can really relate to, but who is just coming across in a way that feels like they've got their own back, feels like they've learned how to accept themselves, how to love themselves, how to support themselves. And that's really the best thing we can hope for ourselves and for each other. All right, you guys. Well, thank you. This was a heavy topic. I'm going to be putting out more of these on a regular basis because I have been getting so much feedback from my new public speaking course that is available online that you are more than welcome to take advantage of. It is a deal and you get vocal personal feedback from me. So if you are not certain about any of these things that I just discussed, I give you personal feedback. We can have a dialogue about what it is you want to work on in your own voice. So if that speaks to you, do check that out. But I hope that this helps inspire you to just take a step in the right direction to really accept yourself so that you can fully express yourself in your life. Thanks so much, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. And I will talk to you next time with another fun, juicy topic that hopefully helps you out as well. Take care, everyone.